Good morning, everyone. Hi, welcome to our Tuesdays with Jim and Bex, or Bex and Jim. So it's great to see all of you today, and on this dreary, rainy Tuesday morning. And
Again,
it is. It is. Last night I enjoyed a nice hot cup of chocolate, reading our book, and this morning I came in with my lovely gray sweater here, and I thought in case I get chilly because it's so damp outside, and I'm drinking. So I was going to ask you, are you drinking anything this morning, Becky?
of course I am. Number one, though, I want to say I loved your hot chocolate picture on Twitter yesterday.
Oh,
Just for our
thanks.
listeners, if you want to follow along on our Y journey, we are documenting it and sharing on hashtag Are You Overbooked? So please join in on the community on Twitter as well. But I love that hot chocolate. It looks
Well,
so good.
thank you. It was good. I made it myself. Hot chocolate, marshmallows, and put it in one of my favorite mugs that I received for my last birthday. So all you need is
Ooh,
love, dog.
there
That's
you go.
it.
And this
So,
morning, okay, I have a confession. I did
all right.
make coffee at home.
All
Okay.
right.
Shout out to
So
KTI, great conference in Pennsylvania. But
what's in that cup, Becky? Is that coffee?
okay, so I'm going to be a hypocrite right now. This is Starbucks from home, but then we had practice today, this morning for basketball. And we had a little extra time. So then I went to Dunkin' and I got my pumpkin coffee. So I have Starbucks and Dunkin'. I like them both. I can't pick. And then I have a dear friend of mine who gave me a sample of hot apple tea, which I'm excited to try tonight.
I wonder
What
who
are
that
you
friend
having, Jim?
was. All right, good question. Well, let's see. I'm sort of like, except no Starbucks. Uh,
Okay.
right now, I am drinking a cup of hot raspberry.
Mm.
So, because I already had one cup of coffee already at home this morning. However, a dear friend of mine this morning brought in for me a pumpkin coffee from Dunkin'.
Mm.
So pumpkin spice. So, because it's 'tis the season. And I also brought in because I always feel like I need that just in case. My own cup of coffee, here. That is just made of Folgers and French vanilla with pumpkin spice creamer. So I know I'm good for coffee for the day, and otherwise drink my water. So
There you go. I mean, teacher friends, we all know coffee fuels us. I never drank coffee until I became a teacher. So, um,
yes,
cheers. So,
cheers.
as
Now I'll
we
drink the coffee.
dive into the find your why before we do our little icebreakers. There's been a lot of leaves, Jim. Lots of leaves. They're all falling. My big question for you this morning: would you rather rake them or jump in them?
Okay, that's like a no-brainer. I'd rather just
Oh,
in the leaves. I love to jump in the leaves. Raking the leaves, the same time, raking the leaves is a good workout for me. So I guess if I want to keep continuing building some muscle power, I can rake those leaves. But then the fun part is jumping in the leaves. This year, I'm kind of looking forward to it once we get enough leaves down, because then I can take my Jet and Owen, my two,
oh.
and see if they jump in the leaves as well. So I'm looking forward to that. So how about you, Bex?
I think raking leaves just hurts my back. But and I always end up like letting them fall. I definitely would say jumping in the leaves. I'm a big kid at heart, so jumping in the leaves is always
Me
fun.
too.
So,
Me
all
too.
right, Jim, what did you do this week to not feel so overbooked? What did you do for some
Ooh.
self-care, some self-love?
Whoa, that's a great question. Self-love, self-care, incorporating it with my work and my role. There were a few days last week where I didn't have to travel a little bit. So when I'm traveling, looking at the leaves right now, the color of the leaves, the
Beautiful.
right now, love it. I enjoy that part of it, seeing the mountains. I mean, I'm just a nature guy at heart too, a country boy at heart. Love that. This weekend, I shifted, thinking so much up here. And actually, just this weekend, I spent, especially Saturday and some of Sunday, outside doing yard work, cutting the grass, just doing some things, just going for a walk, just enjoying some of those moments and just take in just the fresh air and just love being outside. So it was a weekend at home and it was great. How about you, Becky?
That's awesome. That is awesome. I would agree. Central Pennsylvania in the fall, for those of you that are not located near us in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, Central Pennsylvania in the fall, especially even up north, it's it's so gorgeous. And I actually we took our pups, two of our pups. We're dog sitting two right now, so we have four at home. So we took two of them. I know, and we went up to Wellsboro. We went to the PA Grand Canyon. I've never been there when the like leaves are changing, and it was breathtaking. It was gorgeous, but it was packed. It took us an hour to drive in, so we parked our car and walked, and then walked back.
Mhm.
But granted, there was social distancing and masks, but it was definitely worth it. So any kind of family trip, that's a great family trip. A lot of fun. So that's what I did.
Yes. I've never been there yet, and I know I keep hearing so many great things about it, so I know I have to get.
You've never been there and you love hiking so much. You
I
definitely need to do
do.
it.
I do. Maybe because
Yeah.
the hiking, I would have to drive an hour to go hiking. So I just have to just take a day and just do it.
Yeah, it definitely is a day trip. Definitely is a day trip. So
All right.
awesome. Well, let's dive in. Let's dive in, Jim. What did you think
Yes.
about we're talking about chapter 1 today, and so next week
Yes.
everyone can start talking about or looking at reading chapter 2. So chapter 1 was,
Hmm.
you know, finding your why, starting with your why.
Yes. Starting with
Chapter
why.
2.
And you
Mhm.
know what? Do you want me to go first, Becky?
Sure, why not?
Hey, well, just my take on it. There is on page 13 of this book, there is a wonderful diagram, which when
Mm,
Simon Sinek used the model, what he called the golden circle, and talking about it, like it's like going in from what, how, and why. And we always ask these questions, like what we do. So if someone asks me, for example, Jim, what do you do? You know, like, what's your job? Like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I work as this. So I talk about my role. So I talk about what I do. I talk about maybe how I would do it. Maybe if I'm working with maybe my consultations with students and teachers, but I never really get into the reason why I do it. So, and that's what's really talked about so much is like what we do, how we do, but we don't talk enough about why we do it. So, and we talk so much about, and it was even said like on page 13 as well, many of us say we go in like we can get our benefits and earn a paycheck, but you know what? It's so much more than that. Um,
right.
you know, you could do that with any job, but it's like you want to have a reason to get up in the morning. You want to have a reason to enjoy doing what you do to fire your passion every day. So it's part of the finding my why of doing what I do, what I love, what I do. So, and
One second though. I love how you say that because I just think it's so important when we live in such a fast-paced world and a lot of it's driven by money, to think about that why.
yes,
And when I work with like younger, at the college and everything, I think I want them to understand like you should be loving what you're doing. It doesn't matter about, I mean, yes, the paycheck's nice, but it doesn't matter. It's all about why. And you bring up the golden circle, and I love Simon Sinek's golden circle. And he
yes,
always says too, we say it backwards. You should never start with that what. It should start with the why. So when people say like, "Oh, what do you do?"
yes,
Your line should be like that punchline with the why. Because later, and I can't remember what page it was, but for me it was like, oh, here it is. Page 17. I was like, "Wow, look, you can even see I wrote wow." Wait, I'm pointing the wrong way. There we go. Wow. When he correlates his golden circle with, the limbic brain and the neocortex, for all the things that I've studied, I've never, like with Simon Sinek and the why, I've never thought about that.
yeah,
And I was like, that's genius. But that's why you start with the why, because it connects with people. And that's what we
yes.
do in life, right? Especially in our job,
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I love that. Love that.
Thank you,
So
Becky. That's a great comparison right there. And you know, just getting into the why, because then we can,
mhm,
like, sometimes we get asked, so what? So what? We're trying to probe to get to that why. We start off with the why. At first, we may get a like, what? I'm not used to hearing that. So
mhm,
that's okay. That's okay.
Right.
Great. So let's start with our why. So
Yeah.
was there anything else that jumped out at you on chapter 1, Becky?
Well, I know that you and I have sort of talked about this in passing, but just that single line at the very end, why should anyone care? It's a little harsh at first. I was like, wait a minute. Um,
Yes.
like, what do you mean, why should anyone care? There's two things I think about. Why should anyone care? But also, why should I care? Why should I care because you have to show up for yourself first, in my opinion. I don't always worry about everyone else. But when you feel content and fulfilled, like we talked about last week, in ourselves, then it's like, why should anyone else care that you're getting out of bed?
Yes.
And I know he doesn't mean it as like a harsh like dig, but sometimes it's that brutal truth that snaps you out of like your own head. If people are overthinking and thinking, which I've been there before too, but then someone says a line like, well, why would anyone care? It's like, oh, that's so right. So that sort of, it's very simple. It's on page 13 too, but it hit me. So,
Yes.
but
We
what else for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, one of the actually toward the end, there was a couple of quotes that says, I don't know, it just feels right. That gut feeling. Like I think about it's like you gotta feel it. You have to feel it, not just say it. You have to.
Yeah.
And actually, again, page 19, every chapter has at least one of these inspiring quotes. And I read this, and Bex, we were discussing this briefly as well. And when I first read this, and the quote says, the opportunity is not to discover the perfect company for ourselves. The opportunity is to build the perfect company for each other. So to be honest with all of you, and Bex, when I first read this, the opportunity is not to build the perfect company for ourselves. The opportunity is to build a perfect company for each other. First, I'm thinking about, okay, organization. I'm thinking about business. I'm thinking about, like where we work, things like that. Then I had I had a second thought.
Mhm.
And as usually when I hear company, I hear about workplace. I hear about where you work. And now but then at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, no, company, companionship. And by reading that, the opportunity is to build the perfect company for each other. So Becky, you are my company right now. Throughout this book series,
Thank you. Yes.
all of you viewing and joining this book study with us, you are my company. And it's like, we are on this, like I talked about last week, the journey, the race. You are my company. You are my company along this race that I'm taking. And what is your race? What is your purpose? What drives you? So we're in this together. And that inspired me right there.
That's super powerful. And when you brought that up to me, I I was like, you're right, like 100%. And I wouldn't want anyone else to go on this journey with. I mean, we have great colleagues too, so anyone can join in. But
Absolutely.
any company and community I love just to talk about life, talk about all of these things. On page 26, we had this, there's a line, it says, the why is the tool that can bring clarity to that which is fuzzy and make tangible to that which is abstract.
Yes.
And right now, during these times, I don't know about you, Jim. I don't know about everyone that's listening, but there's a lot of fuzzy and there is a lot of abstract. And what gets me out of bed in the morning, why people should care is my why. Like,
Yes.
is that I get up to show up for other people and for myself. And it's true. It provides clarity. And so for those of you that are seeking clarity, I encourage you to keep trying to evaluate and rethink that why, and keep going on that journey with us right now and being in our company. So
Love it.
awesome.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bex. And
Jim, I know we ended up with a call to action for our listeners for next week. Next week, we're going to be discussing chapter 2. And our call to
yes.
action for this week is, it goes along with your point, is
Jeez.
that being in good company can be hard, especially when you are exhausted, right? So this week, if we can pay attention to the company, not only that you keep, but the company that you attract. What kind of atmosphere and company are you entertaining? And does it align with your why? So as
I
you're starting to
love that
think,
question.
right? As you're starting to think about your why, um, are the people you surround yourself with aligned to your why? And so they say, I can't remember who said this, so forgive me, but
Mhm.
they say you're most like the 5 people that you surround yourself with most of the time. And so you think about those 5 people, and I do this a lot. Um, are they the right company? Just leave it at that, Jim. Like, so that's our call to action for this week. Share it out on social. And you can follow along with us throughout the week as well.
Yours
Uh,
to think about, Bex. That was great. It's so
yeah.
true. The company
Yeah.
was. So
Yeah, for those of you that want to follow along with our study guide, we have the study guide posted on our Blast IU website, which is www.iu17.org. You can follow along on the professional learning tab, and it's over there under overbooked, not underbooked,
yes,
overbooked.
yes. And I was going to say, Bex, I know for some, ordering, like I said, the only thing we have to pay for is just to order you the book. But I'm
Mhm.
also positive that there's also an audio out there as well.
There is.
For some of you that you're thinking, I would love to do this, but you know what? I just do not have the time to just sit down and read. And you know what? If you have the time, great. And if not, you know what? If you have to travel, put it on when you're traveling. Listen to it as you travel. I've been
Right.
listening to a lot more podcasts when I'm traveling now. When I travel to schools, or like when I travel back and forth to my mom's on the weekends, I listen to podcasts so I can continue to feel inspired and continue to um, find my why.
Yeah. I listened to my girl Rachel Hollis this morning. So, all right, everyone. I hope you have a great Tuesday, a great week.
Yes,
I hope you find yourself in good company. If not, reach out to us,
yes.
and
We could be
cheers.
your great company. So,
That's right.
um, otherwise, have a great, wonderful day, all of you. Take care, my friends.
Awesome.
All right. Bye.